Hi girls, so this is just a very short clip about the second part of what you need to know about valency. And this is to do with when atoms bond that aren't just metals or non-metals. It's often to do with the elements that are in the middle of the periodic table or on the right hand side of the periodic table. And this is all to do with what's called covalent bonding. And really the key word here is sharing, okay? So the best way to show you how to do this is to show you what happens when we have two hydrogen atoms, which I've drawn here, okay? So hydrogen atoms have a proton and an electron each, okay? As you can see, I've drawn one as a cross and one as a dot just to show you. And they both want a full shell, and to get a full shell, they need one electron each, okay? Now the problem is, obviously, if this one gives this one an electron, well, he's left with nothing. If this one gives that one an electron, he's left with nothing. So this is an issue that we all have from time to time, isn't it? Where two people want the same thing. What do? We share. Okay, so the best way to share then is like this. We draw our two atoms, but this time what happens is, this guy says, here, you can share my electron. Okay, you can share my electron, and now we're both happy. Okay, so that's sometimes drawn like this. You'll often see it as a straight line between two atoms like that, and that forms what's called a molecule, okay, where you have more than one atom combined together. That's a hydrogen molecule like that. So this is very common between atoms that aren't metals. Okay, let's have a look at another example, okay? So if we have carbon, right? Carbon is in group 4 and oxygen is in group 6. So that means that carbon, as we know from our previous video, has 4 electrons in its outer shell, which means it needs 4. So another way of saying that is that its valency is 4. Oxygen has an atomic number of 6. It has 6 electrons, so it needs 2. So what we have to do is we have to find a way of combining these two so that they both get what they want. Carbon wants 4 electrons, oxygen wants 2 electrons. So what we're going to need is, we're going to need to share, but we're going to need to share in such a way that everybody gets what they want. So oxygen is going to need to bring its 2 electrons, but we're going to need 2 oxygen atoms to combine with this one carbon atom like this. Okay, so what happens is that we have carbon and 2 oxygens. 2 times 2 is 4, which means that now we've got a carbon dioxide molecule made of carbon and 2 oxygens like that. Let's look at another example. Here we have nitrogen, which is in group 5, and hydrogen, which is in group 1. So nitrogen's in group 5, which means it has a valency of 3, because it's looking for 3 electrons. Hydrogen is in group 1, all right, like this. So what's going to happen is nitrogen needs 3 electrons, but hydrogen only needs 1. So we're going to need to bring 3 of these in order to make nitrogen happy, okay, to make sure that nitrogen gets what it wants. So when we write the formula for the molecule, that is the combination of nitrogen and hydrogen, we're going to need 3 of these, so we write it like that. So when we have a valency here of 3, and a valency here of 1, we're going to need 3 hydrogens to make sure that nitrogen is happy. Let's do one more. This is oxygen in group 6 and hydrogen in group 1. Oxygen has a valency of 2 because it's in group 6. It's looking for 2 electrons. Hydrogen is looking for 1. So in this case, we're going to need 2 hydrogens, isn't that right? For every oxygen. OH2, or as it's often written, as I'm sure you know, H2O, isn't that right? So that 2 hydrogens combine with 1 oxygen to make a water molecule like that. Okay, and what we're doing here, what we're talking about here, is what's called covalent compounds. And covalent compounds occur between non-metals. You'll notice that each of the elements that we've looked at here are non-metals, all right? And they have particular properties. They don't conduct electricity, different to ionic materials, which we just talked about. They have low melting points, which we talked about as well. And they're often liquids, not solids, I was going to write solids, liquids or gases. So that's important because they don't have strong forces between the atoms. So there you go. That's really important for your junior cert. There's a worksheet that we did on that. And there's also some notes in the folder, so you should look at them too. And I'm going to give you some questions to do then over the weekend based on that. Okay, so I hope that helped.